Sibling talked down to my BF over a comment he said during a discussion. It ended in a very uncomfortable and tense night. My sister invited us to a restaurant with other friends and family. It was a loud atmosphere, so you couldn't really hear individual conversations unless you were leaning in / a part of it, so really the only people that heard what went on was me, my sister and my BF. My sister likes to talk about health-related changes such as cutting lactose from her diet. My BF likes to drink energy drinks. My sister in the past has made comments about how bad energy drinks are. And notably, how she never lets her husband drink them because they are bad for you. The caffeine topic came up and the tone of the conversation was on the light side, with them laughing, and her even joking with the waiter about what he needs to drink instead of the soda he likes, since it has caffeine. At one point my BF said, "You sound like an idiot," in a joking manner. This was the point where the conversation completely turned. My sister got extremely serious and offended. She went on a tangent about respect and told him that he isn't going to disrespect her like that. My BF looked kind of stunned and simply said okay, and they stopped talking for the rest of the night. They had been talking for about 30 minutes at this point. As a side note, they have known each other for about 2 years, but she lives far. I'd say we have all hung out together probably 15 times in this time span at family events, so they know each other but are not closely bonded. Personally, his comment is not on the spectrum of something I or anyone I know would get offended by, because it was said in a light conversation, so it wasn't an attack. I also found it very unfair that she would attack something he enjoys to drink like an energy drink or soda. Especially when she brings her husband into the equation and how she doesn't allow him to drink energy drinks. I have never seen him without an alcoholic drink in his hand in 7 years. However, my sister's opinions are usually presented as the right ones, and she will make fun of you in her joking manner if you don't agree with her opinions. She has a dominant personality type, so no one really ever disagrees with her in discussions. At the end of the night she spoke to me alone and explained that she doesn't allow anyone to disrespect her and that it's very important to her. I told her that many people talk in this manner. Saying "you're an idiot" or "you sound like an idiot" is said in a joking manner all the time to show disagreement. She kinda accepted that as a difference in their worlds, but also told me that he never apologized for saying it. I later talked to him and he said that he did apologize to her, twice, because they spoke about the topic again. I chalked it up to her probably not hearing him and told him he should probably send her a message to reiterate his apology. He didn't take it well. He said he has never been around someone who is that sensitive and can't believe she got offended by him saying that. I told him that she did, irregardless of how he feels about it, and the right thing to do is apologize about it. He is adamant about not having to apologize again, which she didn't hear, so I don't believe that counts as an apology, and now I'm rethinking my relationship with him because he won't do something so small to fix the issue. Any advice on how to handle this? I probably sound very calm about it in the text, but I am actually feeling very anxious about the upcoming holidays because of this, and also because of the state of my relationship with him. Comment: your sister sounds obnoxious and argumentative, but in no world is "you sound like an idiot" not a disrespectful thing to say. I talk a lot of shit with my friends and I can't think of a way I would say that wouldn't sound super rude. Maybe she deserved it, but your BF was definitely being disrespectful. Honestly, I don't know why he's backpedaling like it's a joke when we all know that is how he was feeling. The sister sounds annoying for sure, but pretending like he wasn't trying to be disrespectful is laughable. Own up to the things you say, my guy. She not only lectured the waiter, who does this, but was lecturing him, apparently repeatedly. Sounds to me like she was being disrespectful first, and he justifiably retaliated. Worse, he apologized when he didn't need to, and is now being harassed by his girlfriend about apologizing to her again. OP admits that her sister is always like this. Why is she allowed to be insufferable all the time? But when OP's boyfriend makes a minor comment in retaliation, he gets prosecuted by not only the sister but his own girlfriend. OP should be on her boyfriend's side, but instead is not only backing her sister but considering a breakup because he won't cater to her and her sister's demands for a written apology. Wild. The waiter thing is what stood out to me because it's really weird to lecture a random worker. Maybe he was embarrassed by her doing that and trying to shut it down? Don't know why he wouldn't just say that if it was the case though. Agree. Plus, everyone saying they aren't excusing Op's sister's actions but they actually are. Expecting BF to grovel to this pretentious B after condescending his lifestyle choices for a half hour. Then she moves on to lecturing the waiter. Now OP thinking about breaking up with him knowing what he said in comparison wasn't bad. Insanity. Stand your ground BF, if you were to ever read this thread. Name calling is a whole different level than being arrogant. It's never acceptable, and it's not okay to justify bad behavior because you feel offended. OP is also clear that they were joking around up to this point, and he wasn't offended by anything other than her request for an apology. Yet, but OP was clear that the tone was joking at that point, including the boyfriend's remark. Based on Op's depiction, the boyfriend wasn't taking any of it personally or as disrespect, he was bantering with her. Regardless, even if she was offending him, offending her back isn't the answer. If this was a parent talking to a rude child, no one would support these words. It isn't okay coming from an adult, either. Well, those are two different things. An apology in the moment when you're getting lectured at again is very different than being asked for a more formal apology after. I would probably apologize in the moment if someone changed up the tone of a light-hearted discussion to make it serious and as an affront to themselves, if only to calm things down and get out of there. Certainly wouldn't be apologizing the next day once I'm able to think through it and realize that I wasn't wrong in a large way. It's like the initial apologies would be a sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, that wasn't my intention. Asking for an apology the next day for a misunderstanding seems akin to a power trip. And an apology then would take on a greater nature. And that's why I think integrity would be affected, if that makes sense haha. Story 2. I 35F don't know how to move on from my husband 39M, what is the right way forward? Back in January this year, my husband told me he wasn't in love with me. This was after months of odd, out-of-character behavior. He had been slowly becoming so concerned about what other people have, flippant about his family, helping me less and less with our baby son. He started turning away in bed, the sex stopped, hardly smiled anymore or laughed, became snappy towards me, very frustrated with our son. This was a man who used to be so laid back, had the patience of a saint, a man who was so selfless to me and considerate, so loving and warm and kind, would never pass up the opportunity to have sex with me. Turned into something unrecognizable. It makes me tear up to write it now. I begged him to speak to me about what was wrong, I begged him to speak to someone, for him to agree to doing couples counseling. I asked him to try it for our son at least. I had heard that so many new parents go through rough patches, but to not be so hasty in making decisions to leave because the fog of being a new parent can be difficult to see beyond. But he wouldn't listen to me or seek help. It all culminated in this. Since then, he's reached out to me numerous times expressing that he wants to spend more time with me, but then he becomes distant again. Back in May, he said his love for me just feels different. Then at the end of August he asked me to go to the cinema with him, which I agreed to, and we started to speak more again. He was bidding me good night, he accidentally called me by my pet name. I saw he'd been looking at our wedding photos. But nothing came of it. Most recently, I had a bit of a spiral into my emotions and was dealing with them quite badly. I told him I didn't want his pity when he insisted on paying for my new tires, that he didn't have to pretend he cared anymore. I begged him to tell me why he didn't love me. I know this is so childish, but my state of mind was not great, still isn't really. All he could say was that he knew it wouldn't help me, but he never did stop loving me. But he won't answer me why he doesn't want to be with me, if that is the case. I'm just so tired, torn between behaving standoffish with him to being interested when he speaks to me and tries to make conversation with me. I know that doing the former makes me miserable, but then I wonder why he should get the benefit of my conversation when he's done this to me. He doesn't have any friends really, so why should I be he sounding bored? But then I think of my son and how unfair this is on him. I never imagined, after 14 years of a happy relationship, that I would be raising my son apart from my husband. The pain is so difficult to bear at times. Comment. He has a mental problem, girl. And he keeps reeling you in during his highs and pushing you at his lows. It's not good for you own and your child's sake. For the sake of your child, I wouldn't trust him to be stable enough to depend on, and there will come a time that you may lose your self-worth. So he needs to get help. It's difficult especially if the person is not willing to get help. But now, you need to focus on yourself and your kid. This happened to a close friend and she ended having a breakdown herself due to helplessness of husband being bipolar. I'm not saying your husband is, but his actions seem to be like it. Maybe ask his family if they could convince him to get some help. He may have underlying problems the two of you can solve. Yes, he is behaving in an immature manner. I will say, however, that the silent treatment won't get you any closer to resolving this issue. Retaliation, however deserved it may be, rarely ever solves our problems. Refusing gestures of charity or attempts to talk will only make issues worse. Convince him to see a counselor or him spill the beans to you of why he is acting this way. If those two options are impossible, then the marriage may be unsalvageable. However, if it is at all possible to get him back to his old self, it's probably worth the effort. Again, he needs to spill the beans of what is going on in his head to someone, either you or a counselor. That is the only way to solve this problem. And if you feel capable of doing so, if he does spill his guts to you, interpret what he says charitably initially. You can pass judgment later, but until you know the full story, postpone judgment. Has he seen a doctor? Sometimes physical illness can cause things like this, certainly mental illness, depression/anxiety/etc., can do this as well. I promise you that it is worse for your son to have his parents in an inconsistent relationship than it is for you to be alone and stable. And keep in mind, your husband isn't just doing this to you. He's leaving his son and coming back, only to withdraw and leave again. He's doing it to you both. I'm so sorry. I'd tell him that you love him and are worried about him, and want him to see a doctor, but you aren't going to do this anymore. And then do whatever you need to do, divorce, in order to restart your life. Could he be cheating? Some things you pointed out might suggest towards that. If he doesn't want to go to therapy, then you should, if you aren't doing it already, so you can figure out what exactly is that you want. And then just do it. Do what's best for you and the baby. Sounds like he met someone, but she may not have wanted anything more. Some people don't like normal. I loved normal, work, kids, family time, but not exciting like sneaking around or going out with friends. See a therapist. There are apps for divorcing parents' work kids. See a lawyer and start divorce. You can always stop it, but at least get it going so you're not stuck in limbo. Get every penny you're entitled to. Don't try and be nice person.